I'm Jessica Harper, 32, a mom of one, piecing together my work-from-home life after a moment that nearly broke me. Last Wednesday, I lay at the bottom of a cold hospital stairwell, pain searing through every inch of my body. Through blurry eyes, I saw my sister, Natalie, smirking down at me. "You had it coming," she whispered, her voice sharp as a blade. My parents rushed past me, their arms wrapping around her as she fake cried, playing the victim. "It was an accident, wasn't it, Natalie?" my father asked, his voice shaky with hope. I tried to speak, but the pain choked my words. Then I noticed head nurse Susan glancing at the security camera, her finger already on the record button. That footage would unravel everything for my family and set me on a path to reclaim my strength. Growing up in a leafy Charleston suburb, our two-story house on Magnolia Lane looked like a postcard with its wraparound porch and blooming gardenias. But inside, it was a different story. From the time I could tie my sneakers, I knew my place. Natalie, 3 years younger, was the family's darling. Petite, with chestnut curls and green eyes that could melt anyone. She mastered the art of charm early, wrapping our parents, Margaret and Henry Harper, around her finger. I was the responsible one, the serious sister, always a step behind her glow. I'd sit on the porch swing with Mom, shelling shrimp for dinner, her silence heavy when Natalie's tantrums stole the spotlight. Dad, a bank manager who'd built his career from nothing, preached success, but saved his praise for Natalie. A B+ on my algebra test? Try harder, Jessica. Natalie's C in English? A celebratory ice cream sundae for effort. Those moments piled up, each one a reminder I'd never be enough. At night, I'd lie in my attic bedroom, the scent of jasmine drifting through the window, staring at glow-in-the-dark stars, wishing for a day when my worth wasn't measured against my sister's charm. School was my escape, where I could shine without Dad's shadow. I poured myself into art and English, sketching ads in my notebook, the scratch of pencil a lifeline. My teacher, Mrs. Delaney, saw my spark. "Jessica, you've got a gift for telling stories," she'd say, her voice warm like a summer breeze. Her belief fueled me, a quiet fire against Dad's dismissals. I'd stay late in the art room, surrounded by paint fumes and poster board, dreaming of a career where my ideas mattered. When college came, I aimed for the College of Charleston, their communications program a gateway to freedom. I'd stay up late, the glow of my laptop mixing with the scent of Mom's magnolia candles, crafting essays that poured out my grit. When my acceptance letter arrived, I ran to Dad's study, heart pounding, clutching the paper. The room smelled of leather and pipe smoke, his desk cluttered with bank statements. "Dad, I got into Charleston," I said, voice trembling with hope. He barely looked up. "Good. But it's pricey, Jessica. You'll need to cover it." I'd researched scholarships, but his dismissal hurt more than the cost. "It's my future, Dad. Please help." He waved me off. Natalie's Dance Academy comes first. Advertising's soft. Find something practical. My throat tightened, but I pushed back. "It's not soft. It's my strength." He didn't respond, and I left, tears burning, vowing to prove him wrong. I worked nights at a cafe and weekends tutoring, collapsing exhausted, my resolve stronger than my aching body. Stepping onto campus, I felt fear and defiance, ready to carve my path. College was a blur of late nights, coffee-stained notes, and internships. I graduated with honors, clutching my diploma in the humid Charleston air, pride swelling despite Dad's curt, "What's next?" Mom's eyes shone, but her silence spoke louder. My first job was at Palmer Reed, a top ad agency where I started as a copywriter, the office buzzing with creativity. The pay barely covered my downtown apartment, but I thrived, crafting campaigns that won clients over. I'd stay late, the office quiet except for my keyboard's click, feeling like I was building something real. At 31, I became creative director, a dream come true, even if Dad's response was a gruff, "Keep climbing." 5 years ago, at a conference in Atlanta, I met David Walsh. His easy smile and quick wit lit up the room, and as a tech sales rep, he seemed to match my drive. We bonded over late-night talks, engaged in 6 months, married the next spring in a ceremony Dad mostly funded, never letting me forget his generosity. We bought a craftsman bungalow in a Charleston suburb, all charm and creaky floors. From the outside, we were perfect. David in his Tesla, me rising at Palmer Reed, hosting barbecues where guests envied our life. But behind closed doors, David's warmth faded as my career grew. His teasing about my late nights turned bitter. "Palmer Reed owns you, Jessica," he'd say, pouring another bourbon. When I won an industry award, he brushed it off, talking over me about his deals. The more I succeeded, the more he pulled away, his resentment a cold wall. Sunday dinners at my parents' estate were a gauntlet. Dad grilled me about my campaigns, my salary, my next move, his voice cutting through Mom's shrimp and grits. "You should be VP by now, Jessica," he'd say, his fork pointing like a judge's gavel. Mom's hand would graze mine under the table, her touch a silent apology, but she never spoke up. Her silence, shaped by years of pleasing Dad, left me fighting alone. 2 weeks before the hospital incident, I landed creative director at Palmer Reed. I called Mom, hoping for pride, but she pivoted. "That's nice, but did you hear Natalie's auditioning for a dance reality show?" The dismissal stung, but I pushed it down, focusing on my work. The incident that changed everything happened when my grandmother, Nana Ruth, was hospitalized for a heart condition. At 83, she was my rock, the one who'd sneak me pecan pralines and tell stories of her low-country childhood. She'd lived with my parents since Grandpa died 4 years ago, and I visited weekly despite their coldness. That Wednesday, I arrived at Charleston General at 2 p.m., my parents already in Nana's room, sitting stiffly while she dozed. They nodded curtly, their focus on their phones. I sat by Nana's bed, holding her frail hand, her smile warming me when she woke. We talked for an hour about her garden and my promotion, her eyes sparkling with pride. My parents chimed in about Natalie's latest dance gig and her growing Instagram following. Natalie arrived 2 hours late, breezing in with a gift bag and excuses about traffic. Nana was polite, but tired. When she dozed off, Natalie started eyeing Nana's jewelry box. "I should get her emerald ring," she said, checking her reflection in her phone. "It matches my eyes, and Jessica doesn't wear jewelry." Mom nodded. "We should start sorting her things just in case." I was stunned. She's recovering, not dying. And maybe don't talk about her stuff while she's right here. Dad gave me his disapproving look. "Always so dramatic, Jessica. We're being practical." The tension was thick as visiting hours ended at 7 p.m. I noticed Natalie slip something from Nana's drawer into her purse. A locket, I thought. I stayed quiet, planning to check later. We left Nana's room together, Dad leading toward the elevators. The hallway was quiet, just the hum of machines and squeak of nurses' shoes. Mom and Natalie whispered about heirlooms, intensifying my unease. As we neared the elevators, Natalie turned to me, voice loud. "That blouse makes you look frumpy, Jessica? Still wearing last season's stuff? I guess your promotion didn't come with taste." I bit back a reply. "I'm not worried about my blouse, Natalie. I'm worried about Nana." Mom jumped in. "Your sister's just helping, Jessica. You could try harder, especially with that big job." The familiar sting of their alliance burned, but I swallowed it. The elevator dinged and Dad held the door. The thought of being trapped with them for 5 floors felt suffocating. "I'll take the stairs," I said, stepping back. "I need the air." Dad shrugged. "Suit yourself?" As the doors closed, I heard Natalie tell Mom I was upset about the jewelry talk. Before I could process, she slipped out, following me to the stairwell. The stairwell was stark. Fluorescent lights buzzing, my footsteps echoing on concrete steps. "You don't have to fake caring," I said over my shoulder, gripping the railing. Natalie's voice turned cold, losing its sweetness. "I saw you eyeing me in Nana's room. Always the perfect one, huh?" I stopped on the 4th floor landing, facing her. "Did you take her locket?" Her hand tightened on her purse. "None of your business." Nana promised me her jewelry ages ago. That's a lie, I said. Nana doesn't play favorites like Mom and Dad. Her eyes flashed. Everyone picks favorites, Jessica. Too bad it's never you. I shook my head, turning to continue down. I'm not doing this here. Must be tough, she sneered, steps behind me. Big promotion, but everyone knows you're not enough. Does your boss know your family can't stand you? I kept walking, counting steps to stay calm. 1, 2, 3. I saw how Nana smiled when you walked in, she said, her voice sharp. She never looks at me like that. Maybe because you only visit when you want something, I replied, not turning. You know she changed her will last month, Natalie said, closer now. After you helped with her rehab, you're getting the beach cottage, the one Dad promised me. I stopped on the 3rd floor landing, shocked. What? I don't know anything about her will. Her face flushed with rage. Don't play dumb. You've been turning her against me just like you try with Mom and Dad with your perfect job. That's ridiculous, I said, confused. I've never talked about that with Nana. And now you'll snitch about my loans, she shouted. Make me look bad. It clicked. Her borrowing from our parents, the designer bags that vanished, her constant need for cash. I hadn't known about loans specifically, but the pattern made sense. Natalie, I don't care about your loans. I just want to leave. I turned to continue down, and that's when it happened. Her hand slammed into my back, a hard shove that sent me pitching forward. Time slowed as my feet left the step, my hands clawing for the railing but finding air. The fall was a blur of pain. My shoulder hit first, then my ribs, my wrist, my head. Each impact against the concrete steps exploded through me, my scream echoing in the stairwell. Memories flashed. Natalie accidentally breaking my favorite doll, spilling juice on my prom dress, deleting my college essay the night before it was due. But this was no accident. I landed on the 2nd floor landing, sprawled, vision swimming. Natalie stood above, a smirk on her lips, gone the moment the stairwell door opened and our parents rushed in. Natalie, what happened? Mom's voice was panicked. She fell, Natalie cried, voice trembling with fake fear. I tried to catch her, but she was too fast. They gathered around her, not me, as she sobbed theatrically. You had it coming, she'd whispered before they arrived. I tried to speak, but only a groan escaped, pain radiating with each breath. The 3rd floor door burst open, and head nurse Susan rushed in with 2 orderlies. Call a code, she shouted, kneeling beside me. Her eyes flicked to the ceiling corner, where a security camera's red light blinked. Her expression told me she knew this wasn't an accident. Don't move her, Susan instructed, stabilizing my neck. Can you tell me your name? Jessica, I whispered. Where's the pain? Everywhere, I gasped. Ribs, head, wrist. The orderlies slid a backboard under me, securing straps as pain surged. Susan glanced at the camera again, telling another nurse, mark the time and preserve all footage. Standard protocol for falls. As they lifted me, agony washed over me, but I clung to consciousness, desperate to tell the truth. My parents stayed above, comforting Natalie, who wailed dramatically. She just fell so fast, she sobbed. I screamed for help. In the ER, Dr. Ellis, a calm woman with gray-streaked hair, ordered scans. CT, chest and wrist x-rays, stat, possible concussion, internal injuries. The next hours blurred. Cold CT tables, the sting of an IV, pain dulling as meds kicked in. Passing the waiting area, I saw my parents with Natalie, Mom wiping her tears while Dad spoke to a police officer. It was an accident, he said, voice firm. Natalie tried to stop her. I wanted to scream, but the meds fogged my mind. In a private room, Dr. Ellis delivered the verdict. 4 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, moderate concussion, severe bruising. You're lucky, she said. Stair falls can be fatal. Lucky wasn't how I felt. That night, I drifted in and out, monitors beeping. I overheard my parents outside. We need our story straight before she's awake, Dad said low. The hospital reports injuries like this. Natalie's devastated, Mom replied. She tried to save her. Of course, Dad agreed. It was an accident. Jessica's always been clumsy. Their words stung, but Susan's glance at the camera gave me hope. Morning came, sunlight piercing the blinds. Pain throbbed with every breath. A nurse, Emily, checked my vitals. Pain level 1 to 10? 9, I whispered. She nodded, adjusting my IV. I gathered my courage. The stairwell camera. Before I could finish, my family entered. Mom carried lilies, Dad a get well balloon, Natalie trailing with fake concern. Her eyes flicked to me, triumphant when our parents weren't looking. We were so worried, Mom said, setting down the flowers. Dad placed the balloon by my bed. You'll be fine soon, Natalie dabbed at dry eyes. I'm so sorry I couldn't catch you. Emily smiled. I'll leave you to visit. Doctor's here in an hour. The room's mood shifted as she left. Mom's smile tightened. Dad's posture stiffened. Natalie stayed close to them. We talked to the administrator, Dad said, businesslike. This was an accident. Sign these insurance forms. He slid papers onto my tray. I stared at them, then at him. It wasn't an accident. Natalie pushed me. Silence. Mom laughed nervously. The meds are confusing you, honey. You fell. No, I said, eyeing Natalie. She pushed me, angry about Nana's will. Dad's face darkened. Enough, Jessica. You're being dramatic, accusing your sister. What about my broken ribs, my wrist? I asked. Doesn't that matter? We're all upset, Mom said quickly. It was a fall. It wasn't, I said. The camera will show it. Dad's eyes flickered with doubt, but Natalie stepped forward, tears streaming. How can you say that? I tried to save you. Mom hugged her. Jessica's confused, honey. She doesn't mean it. Dad added, memory issues are common with concussions. You don't recall it right. The gaslighting was familiar, but a nurse interrupted. Martha Harper's condition has changed. The doctor needs you. My parents rushed out, telling Natalie to stay. Her mask dropped as the door closed. No one will believe you, she whispered, leaning close. They never do. Sign the papers, or it gets worse. Why do you hate me? I asked, heart aching. You exist, she said. Always so perfect, Nana's favorite. The door opened and Susan entered, her face unreadable. Natalie stepped back, tears reappearing. I'll get water, sis, she said loudly, slipping out. Susan checked my IV. Feeling like you were pushed down a stairwell? I nodded, watching her. She glanced at the door. I reviewed the footage. I've been a nurse 22 years. I know an accident from a push. Hope surged. What now? I told the administrator, Mr. Powell. The footage is secured, reported to security and police. An officer will talk to you soon. Tears of relief stung my eyes. Thank you for believing me. I believe what I saw. Assault, she said, softening. Your family's with the doctor for 30 minutes. Want to see the footage? I nodded, throat tight. She pulled out a tablet, showing the stairwell from above. It captured everything. My walk, Natalie. Aggressive stance, our argument, her deliberate shove, my fall. Her smirk before her fake panic as our parents arrived. I couldn't speak, the validation overwhelming. Multiple angles, Susan said. No ambiguity. My parents won't believe it, I said quietly. They'll try to explain it away. They might, she agreed. But the evidence is clear. My parents returned, faces grim, with Natalie. Nana's in ICU, Mom said, eyes red. Complications. Normally, I'd have asked questions, offered comfort, but the footage consumed me. Minutes later, hospital administrator Mr. Powell arrived with 2 security officers. We need to discuss yesterday's incident, he said. Dad took charge. It was an accident. Jessica fell. Natalie couldn't catch her. Powell's face stayed neutral. The footage shows otherwise. Natalie deliberately pushed Jessica. Natalie gasped. "That's not true." Mom clutched her pearls. "The camera angle must be wrong." "We have multiple angles," an officer said. "The evidence is clear." Dad's shock turned to control. "A misunderstanding, a playful moment gone wrong." "Pushing someone down concrete stairs isn't playful," Susan said firmly. Natalie collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "It was an accident. We argued. I reached out. I didn't mean to push hard." The pivot was classic Natalie, admitting just enough to dodge worse. My parents rushed to her side. "A sisterly disagreement," Dad insisted. "We'll handle it privately." Powell shook his head. "Assault on hospital grounds is a legal matter. The police will need statements." Officer Daniels, a kind-eyed woman, arrived with a detective. Dad turned to me, voice hard. "Jessica, think carefully. This is your sister, your family. You want to ruin us over a spat?" The manipulation was familiar, but something had shifted. "I didn't push myself, Dad. Natalie did. I'm not pretending otherwise." Mom's face crumpled. "How can you do this to us?" "She has 4 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, a concussion," Daniels said. "She's the victim." Daniels took my statement, compassionate but thorough, noting Natalie's whisper and the footage's clarity. "We have 3 angles," she said. "It's deliberate." "My family won't see it that way," I said. "They always excuse her." "Has she been violent before?" Daniels asked. I paused, recalling accidents. Natalie slamming my hand in a door, spilling hot tea on me, deleting my grad school project. "Nothing this bad, but there's a pattern of harm disguised as accidents." Daniels nodded. "Your parents hired a lawyer, Robert Klein. He's top tier. They're protecting Natalie." Of course they were. Discharge day came, but my 3rd-floor apartment was inaccessible with my injuries. My parents' home was open only if I dropped charges. As I sat on my hospital bed, lost, Susan knocked. "Your aunt, Linda Harper, is here." Aunt Linda, Dad's sister, swept in, her lavender scent a rush of childhood memories. Unlike Mom's polished reserve, Linda was warm, her laugh lines a testament to her candor. "Look at you," she said, eyeing my cast. "Natalie went too far, didn't she?" Her acknowledgement nearly broke me. Dad called me with his version. "Accidents, misunderstandings," she said. "Same excuses he's made for Natalie forever. I believe you." Tears fell. "Are you sure? Dad will be furious." She laughed. "Henry's been mad at me since we were kids. My guest room's ready, 1st floor, no stairs." Her cozy Charleston home became my sanctuary. Physical therapy was brutal, pain often bringing tears, but my body slowly healed. Emotional wounds lingered. A week later, Natalie's ex, Chris, called. "I saw the news. I'm not shocked. Natalie threw a lamp at me when we broke up. Missed, but smashed my TV. She sent threatening texts after, then apologized, then threatened again." He offered to share them for my case. Detective Daniels found more. Natalie's accidents, injuring a roommate, a coworker, a neighbor's kid, all settled financially by my parents. The most damning came from Nana Ruth, now out of ICU. She handed me a letter detailing Natalie's behavior, threats, manipulations, and my parents' enabling. "I changed my will," she said, frail but firm. "Not because you schemed, but because I've seen how they treat you. You deserve better." The preliminary hearing loomed. Natalie posted online, claiming I'd been erratic and she'd only tried to steady me. My colleague, Amy, sent a screenshot of Natalie's GoFundMe, Help Fight False Accusations, raising thousands by painting me as jealous. My boss, Karen, called, worried by Mom's claim of my mental crisis. I reassured her with the truth, and she promised my job was safe. Dr. Hayes, the hospital psychologist, met me, explaining family dynamics. Natalie as the golden child, me the scapegoat. "Your clarity despite years of gaslighting shows strength," she said. My parents and Natalie arrived at Linda's unannounced, Natalie looking frail, coached to seem pitiful. "Please, Jess," she whimpered. "I made a mistake. Give me a chance." Dad slid papers forward. "Sign this, drop the charges, Natalie gets therapy. We keep this private." I looked at them. Dad's commanding stare, Mom's polished facade, Natalie's calculated tears. "No," I said. "I won't pretend." "What?" Dad snapped. "I won't drop the charges. Natalie needs to face consequences." Mom cried, "After all we've done for you?" "What have you done?" I asked. "You've always chosen Natalie over me." Linda stepped in. "It's true, Henry. You know it." Dad's face darkened. "Drop this, or you're not our daughter. No trust fund, no family." The threat once terrified me, but now it freed me. "Maybe I never was your daughter," I said. They left, Mom leaning on Dad, Natalie glaring. At the hearing, the courtroom was stark. I sat with Daniels and DA Laura Bennett facing Natalie, my parents, and their lawyer, Klein. Judge Harper, a no-nonsense woman, presided. The footage played, silence falling as Natalie's shove and smirk were undeniable. Klein argued it was an emotional outburst, not intentional harm. Dr. Ellis detailed my injuries, Susan explained the footage's clarity, and security confirmed multiple angles. My statement recounted the argument, Natalie's rage, and years of emotional abuse. "My injuries will heal," I said, "but knowing my sister meant to harm me and my parents protected her may never." Natalie's testimony was a tearful act, claiming stress and regret. But Chris's texts, past incidents, and Nana's deposition painted a clear pattern. Judge Harper ruled, "The evidence shows a deliberate act. I find probable cause for second-degree assault. Bail is $60,000. Dad pleaded for privacy, but Harper was firm. "This is about justice, not family matters." Natalie's glare as she was led away was raw hatred. Outside, Linda shielded me from reporters. Natalie took a plea, probation, therapy, a restraining order. My parents paid, insisting it was a misunderstanding. Nana moved in with Linda, revising her will to exclude Natalie. I found an accessible apartment, returned to work remotely, and continued therapy with Dr. Hayes, dismantling years of internalized blame. A year later, I visited Charleston General with a gift for Susan and the staff. "You look strong," she said, hugging me. "I feel strong," I replied, meaning it. The footage didn't just prove assault. It shattered my family's illusions, setting me free to build a life on my terms, surrounded by people like Linda and Nana, who valued me. My parents reached out tentatively, Mom admitting fault in a letter. We started monthly coffees, a slow rebuild. Dad stayed distant, Natalie moved away, and I let her go. Nana's words, "You deserve better," became my mantra. Pain had forged my power, and I was finally living my truth.